Welcome, my friends, to Quality Sewing and Vacuum's January Sew Fun Live. I am Andrea Hayden, and I am the new Sew Fun manager here at Quality Sewing and Vacuum. We wanted to let you know that the presentations today are presented through 11 stores, and there are 29 classes total in the Seattle area. And today you make 30. These gals are ready to present some really great things to you. I have in my hands some prizes that we're going to be giving out today, because you'll want to like and make a little comment below so you can get entered into our giveaway, which we'll do about 3/4 of the way through our presentation today. Also, when you become a Sew Fun member, you get 20% off of all of the products that you see today and all throughout the store, and also some qualifying quilt shops in the area. Today, the products will be 20% off online all the way through January 29th, which is this Sunday. We wanted to just thank you for getting on today, and I wanted to introduce our amazing consultants that we have right over here. This is Naomi Human and Donna Alexander. Take it away, gals.
Thank you. How's it going? I hope everyone's having a great day today. It's Thursday, 10 o'clock here in Pacific, in the Northwest. Depending on where you're at, might be different time. But I'm going to talk about a few of the notions real quick that we have brought in, and then we're going to jump into the real fun stuff and talk about the projects. So let's start with looking over here at the table, and, you know, they gave me a hammer, so watch out. So we have this buttonhole cutter set, and it comes with an eyelet cutter and the buttonhole and a little apple. Now, this is great because once you have one of these, you won't need another one. You can take your button, like if you're making a shirt, you can take your shirt, put it on top of here, and then you just line it up and you pound, and you don't have to hit it very hard. Now, you can also take cork right here, and if you're creating a handle of any sort, or like this is for a wine rack holder, maybe you have a larger opening you need to create, you can take this and you can just line it up and you can hammer it, and then it will help make the points or that rounded edge, and it's a great little tool to have on hand. So the next one I want to show you is one of my favorite, and this is the lighted seam ripper. Now, when I am sewing with dark fabrics and I need to rip a seam out, it's kind of hard to see. You know, we'll turn on several lights and it's just like straining on the eyes. So this little guy here has a cap, and it comes with 3 little batteries in it. And all you do is flip the switch on, and you can see how bright that is. It's really handy. And what I really like is it's not bulky filling. You know, I was thinking, oh, it's going to have a battery in it. Is it going to be really, you know, bulky right here? But it really isn't. It can fit in your hand real nice. So then we have the wool mat cleaning tool. That's a lot for me to say for some reason. Wool mat. And you might have seen this on an infomercial. It's really known for, you'll see it like on carpet, stairs, with pet hair. But if you have a wool mat, sometimes you get threads that stick to the mat and they just don't want to come off. And so if you take this and you scrape it, it kind of pulls it all up right here. And this item, you just, if anything sticks to it, it just comes right off. And I like that because I don't like when I get a cleaning tool that after I get done cleaning, I then have to figure out how to clean the cleaning tool. So this one, it cleans itself. It just comes right off. It picks up, and it's great for the wool mat, but it's also great if you have pets in your life. I have 3 Great Danes and I know their hair gets everywhere. So it's a nice little tool to just help keep things clean. Then this one's kind of funny because my husband had to show me how to use it. So this is the Fiskars tweezers, and this is great if you have arthritis. So I kept looking at it going, how do I put this on my hand? How, trying to just figure out. I went on YouTube, I couldn't find anything. So my husband, he figured it out in like 2 seconds. So he discovered the word Fiskars needs to be upside down when you put it on your hand. And then you take your pointer and you just put it on like this, and then you pinch it. So it's the type that when you pinch, it opens, and when you release, it closes it. And my husband, doing what he does best, he's going around my sewing room and he's picking up random things and he's testing it out. And it actually works really well. And he did feel like it relieved pressure on the hand, on the joints. Then we have Loop and Tail Wand. Now this is by OESD, and you might have seen something similar to this. Let me take it out of the container. There we go. Okay, so it's a needle, and I don't know if you can tell, but half the needle is smooth and the other half is abrasive. And so this is for a couple things. My main purpose of this during the sweater season is if I have a piece of thread that comes out on my sweater, I will stick it through the middle of that and then pull it through, and it pulls that thread to the back or back into my sweater. Now, if you have an embroidery and that embroidery has any loops in it, you will take this, insert this through that center of that loop and push it through slowly. The abrasive side grabs the threads, pulls it into the fabric and the stabilizer. And then I recommend on the back side putting a drop of spray check. And that will help secure. Because every now and then, you get a little loop on your embroidery and no one wants to start over. So this is a great little fix. Okay. Now we have Perfect Heat Resistant Template Plastic. This package comes with 4 sheets. It's 8.5 by 11. And this is what they look like. I don't know if you can hear it. But it's nice plastic. It's not too thick, but it's not too thin. It's perfect to cut on your scanning cut. So if you have the paper templates out of your books, you can copy them. Or what I do is copy it, I scan it into my scanning cut, and then I make any changes if I need to. And then I loaded this on my standard mat, made sure it was nice and sticky, maybe secured it with some tape on the corners, and then it cuts it out. And it's a nice way to make a template, especially if you are making several of that item and you don't want to have to deal with the edge getting messed up. And then we have Zippity Doo Dun zippers. So last year in January, Donna and I brought in a kit that had these Zippity Doo Dun zippers, and we were able to get these as a standalone item. So the thing with these zippers, and I'm going to do a demo on it later, but if you remember, they open like this and you insert your fabric and then you just stitch it on. But I'm going to go into that more in the demo. And something great to add with the zippers are these little zipper widgets. So we have several colors, and on one of my zippers projects, I'll make sure to point it out. But these are great little, if you want to add something onto your zipper pull, or if that zipper pull breaks off, you can, depending on that opening, you can fit that through the opening and have a new zipper. So many color options. So then we have the Perfect Scissors, and these are large, and these have the micro serrated blades. Both blades are micro serrated, and they are universal. So they are right and left-handed. In my house, we have right and left-handers, so it's great because, you know, you pick up a pair of scissors, you think it's right-handed and it's left-handed, and it's very awkward. So these, they cut so nice, and I'm telling you, this point is so, it's so pointy. It's so sharp, and it cuts all the way to the edge of that fabric. And it comes with a little cover. And then we have brought in a ruler. This is the Creative Grid's non-slip spider web. And Creative Grid is great because they always provide some patterns to go with this ruler. So when you open this up, it has all the rulers and blocks and all the info. Also, if you've never done it, I really recommend scanning the QR code, because once you scan it, it takes you to a video and it tells you all about that ruler and all the different angles and cuts you can get from it. And we're going to talk about this more a little bit later, because we brought it in with a pattern. And I'm going to let Donna talk about the last couple items.
From Quilter Select, we have the 14 by 14 inch limited edition pink cutting mat. This is self-healing with the nice white 1 inch increments and then the 1/8 of an inch markings. It's double numbered so that you can measure from the right or the left and not lose track of where you're at. And this does donate some proceeds to the Susan Love Breast Cancer Foundation. Great mat to travel with because you can square up a 12.5 inch block at a retreat. Now, if you find that your mat has a tendency to pick up maybe batting or minky or any kind of fuzz, we have the little heart cleaning tool. It's silicone, and you just scrub, trying to keep up with Gary, scrub the surface, and it sort of opens up those self-healing cuts and pulls out any fleece or thread or fuzz that you might have. And then you just rub your finger over the top of the tool, and it pulls all of that debris off for you. And then we have the 3mm quilting ruler rack and organizer. And when I mean 3mm, that is what the slot size is in this. Now, we can order you a 6mm, which would be the ruler you'd use if you were a long arm quilter. But these are the standard rulers that we sewists use every day. It's solid wood with a whitewash finish and nice gripper feet on the back so it doesn't slide. And this would be a great item because you can also slide your instructions from Creative Grids right behind here. It'll hold both. And then you don't have to have a little separate file folder for those instructions. Now, I wanted to make sure that I could really get a lot of use out of this. And so I loaded mine up with all my small square up rulers, all my triangular rulers, and even a couple of 6x12s. And this is an example of my ruler rack. And there are 17 rulers in there, plus instruction booklets and different things relating to each design of the ruler. So in my mind, this is an incredible storage unit and a great buy. It also has room for notions. You can get a 45mm or smaller rotary cutter in the trays, and any other item that you want close at hand, marking pens or fray check or whatever you might need. Just as a reminder, anything that we used in our samples today, we will bring those notions back out and show you a better usage with the samples. So we're going to go right into the exciting part, which is the samples we made for you this month. And the first item is called the Anytime Topper. And what I love about this pattern is it's no tissue, it's no tracing sizes, it's just 3 rectangles that make this combination shawl, poncho, swimsuit cover-up, any number of ways that you can use this garment. And I like it because it's concise and it's all contained in this cardboard instructions. It has a scannable that opens up to another fashion show that gives you some better ideas of fabric. But you can use any kind of yardage, even toweling, and it shows that too. So I have a couple of odd pieces. This is the one that I wanted to try, which helps you create a topper maintaining the corner plaid on a piece of fabric. And let me make better sense out of that. This originally was a tablecloth, a 104-inch long tablecloth, but you can see that that is the corner that originally sat on the tablecloth on all 4 sides. And so not only was I able to maintain those woven in stripes, but I didn't have to hem the front or the bottom. That's all the factory hem. And it's just done by the measurements in the pattern. There's 2 sets of measurements, small through extra large, and then 2X to 3X. But since it's just done with a measuring tape, you can make that larger or smaller depending on what you need. You just hem the front, the neckline, and the outer edges. And then there's a stitch line that goes right through here that sort of simulates the sleeve and helps keep this square on your body. And this is like a swimsuit cover-up. Or someone in my audience this week said, what if you put buttons on the front and just turned it into a robe? Or you could have a tie. So quick and easy. You can get one of these done in an afternoon. And I have maintained the other 2 corners on the back just by overlapping and stitching that seam down. Now, my interpretation of this was a little bit warmer garment. Naomi's are fun and flirty, and she's going to show you those in a minute. This is a lightweight wool, kind of a loose weave that was really easy to fringe. And I just did a single fold on the front using this salvage. This pattern does come with the measurements to put in a pleat that defines your shoulders a little bit better. Here's my double fold hem on the outer edge. And like I said, it just combines a shawl with a poncho. And it's just an added layer of either decorative, fun fabric or a little bit more warmth. So Naomi has her 3.
Okay, so with my first one, this one is out of a knit fabric, and this is the shorter length. And so I did mine in a short length and a medium length because I'm 5'4", so I want to make sure it's appropriate to my height. So this was the first one I did. And you know, the first one you sew, you're always like, but you learn a lot. But I'm telling you, this topper went together so quick. Like she said, you know, it's just a couple seams, I mean, other than hemming. And if you get that fabric that's already pre-hemmed, like a table runner, toweling material, it might already be hemmed. And so it's saving you a step. My tip would be, if you make it and you find that you want it to maybe accent your shape a little better, this stitch right here, you just move it in a little bit, and then it'll give you a little bit more of an hourglass. So it's not maybe as boxy, but this is the knit one. And I will show you the next one. This one, I got this fabric from Sew Expo in Puyallup about 10 years ago. If you remember when infinity scarves were super in, I was making lots of infinity scarves. So this fabric is really cool because it has a texture to it, and it almost gives it this kind of this effect that, and I mean, I didn't have to sew it. It came like this. So using a fabric that already has a texture to it really adds to it. Yeah, you could do like a swimsuit cover, she was saying. And I told my husband, I'm like, I made a swimsuit cover, so I need you to take me somewhere I can wear a swimsuit. And so this is the medium length. So it's a little bit longer, but actually this is probably my favorite length. And then we have, I think, my favorite one. And this is this blue one. This is made out of a double gauze. And I think it's my favorite because of this, like how it feels, how lightweight it is, you know, spring's around the corner. And I can see myself, I did this last minute, but my plan is after today, take it home and I want to embroider something right here on my sides. You know, you could embroider something on the back if you wanted to. You could really embellish it and decorate it. And this is, once again, the medium length. And the medium length is my favorite because I'll just say it because it covers my butt. But it's so quick. The first one I made, it took me only a couple hours. And by the time I got to this last one, it took me about 30 minutes. So once you kind of get over that initial first time making something, it really can, you can knock them out, no problem. And you can embellish them whatever way you want. But I'm going to pass it back over to Donna, and she's going to do a little demo on this cute little top.
So my goal was to make sure that that shoulder seam, which extends from your neck all the way down to mid-arm, is protected. And so I've done two different seam variations that keep the raw edges to the inside of your fabric. This is the tablecloth, and that is the seam on that shoulder, and it's called the French seam method. And what you do is you start with your two fabrics right sides together, which seems the opposite of what you should do, but it'll work out fine. It's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then this process, the iron is going to be your best friend. So I've got my little portable iron here, and you're going to press that seam flat and to one side, and then you're going to press it again. And now we've got right sides together. And you want that seam to ride right down the original stitching line. Back to the sewing machine. This time you're going to do about a 3/4 inch seam allowance. And if you've done it right, there you see, here's your raw edges, and they're now all protected inside that second stitching line. And that is the way the tablecloth was done. Now, at any point, you can come back if you want to and put some decorative stitching on that to hold it down. That's up to you. But this method automatically does the top stitching for you. And this seam on the wool is called the flat felled seam. And if you're not familiar with that, you'll recognize it when I get done. Starts with right sides together. And here you're going to go ahead and do the factory 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Scissors. I'm having my assistant get me a pair of scissors, because the secret to this seam is, thank you, is to cut away part of that seam allowance. And with the wool, that was a benefit because it was thicker than the tablecloth. So come along, choose just one layer of your seam allowance and cut it down to 1/4 of an inch away from that stitching. And the beauty of these serrated scissors is that as you close the tip, the serrations keep that fabric right in line and you don't travel either direction on your fabric. I love serrated scissors. So there's your cut. Back to the iron. Press the seam open to one side and then come along and press the raw edge to that stitching line. Fold over, press again. And this method you may end up wanting to put a few pins in. And I've found that those reverse tweezers work really well if you've pinned an item, and you know we are never supposed to drive over a pin. You can get right in here and either thread your needle or as you drive down the edge of this seam, you could pull a pin out just within about 1/2 inch of where you're sewing to make sure that you're right on that line.
Donna, someone asked, are serrated edge scissors the same as pinking shears?
No. A pinking shear does a V that's quite large, and this is basically comes out to be a straight cut. The serration just holds that fabric straight for you. So I don't know if you can see. It's micro serrated, and so your fabric still comes out with a straight cut. You can also, and I didn't know anything about the finger hold until Naomi said it. But I like this to thread my needle or to pull a pin out, or even in this case, I'm going to use it kind of like as a stiletto. And I think I just drove off the fold. No, I didn't. So you'll recognize that flat felled seam as something that you see on your jeans. It's a strong, protective seam that doesn't allow any of those raw edges to fray. And it's used in commercial clothing on jeans and dress shirts and any number of different apparel items. And the benefit with this is you get that added top stitch on the front just because of the way you constructed it. So the top stitch is there, it's holding down the flat edge, and this is what it looks like. So on the right side, you see the one line of thread. If you want the flat felled to show, then you start it with wrong sides together. So either one is acceptable. Okay, back to Naomi.
Great demo, Donna. That was really nice. Okay, so we have cut loose press patterns, and these patterns are the single page patterns, and this one's called Crazy Hearts. Now, something about the cut loose press patterns is they're very affordable, and you get all the info they also have this binder set you can buy, and it has all the little tabs in it. So as you buy patterns like this, you can divide them up between, apparel or home decor. And so it's a nice little organizational tool to have on hand. So if you're interested in that, just let us know. We'll get you that info. But this one is Crazy Hearts, and I have the samples right here. You can see the hearts. I've been told from other people at other stores it also looks like a V and an A. Someone also said you could turn it into a little teepee tent. You could put a little fire pit right here, do a little fire pit right here, and do the right colors. And so, I mean, it's all within the beholder's eyes. So with this one, it is 22.5 by 53. And if you look at the hearts, the pieced hearts here, you'll see that they all look a little different. That's because they use the whack and stack method. And with that ruler, they sew a piece together, and then you put the ruler at a different angle, and then you cut it. And so with that, each heart, it's kind of fun. They're different. They're the same, but they look a little different. The seams are in different locations. And then with this one, I did the red one here and quilted it with with hearts. And on the back, you can kind of see the quilting a little bit better. Now, Donna, actually, it's funny. I've been told that I wear a lot of gray. I make a lot of things in gray. And so when I saw this, I'm like, oh, I like that. So she did this kind of gray scale of it. And she quilted inside the hearts with my favorite design, the shattered glass look. And then she did some walking foot lines here. And then in the outer border, she did this nice little free motion wave. She has the little flange, which is a nice little added touch. And you'll notice her outside border is slightly bigger than mine. And that's because when I was making it, for two reasons, it would fit my table better. And for the second reason, which is really more the first reason, I have a long arm and I can quilt 21 inches deep. So I was like, if I cut it down just a little, I could quilt it in one go and not have to roll it. So I was okay losing that inch because I really don't think it takes anything away from the look. But, it's just, you get two different perspectives here with the red, the true Valentine, or this grayscale. And her back fabric, it's hard to see, but it has some little bit of glitter in it. I just love that. I love a little glitter in my fabrics. And I'm going to have Donna talk more about how this comes together in her next demo.
What I like about the cut loose pattern is it's contained in one page, one design, and you don't have to fight the book trying to keep the pages open. You just turn it over and it's done at the end of the page. Now, I've had people ask me, why would you cut up all that fabric and sew it back together? But basically, that's what quilting is. We do it on every other project. But the Crazy Heart is based on 14-inch blocks, square blocks, stacked on top of each other, 5 or 6 different shades. And then you cut it apart according to her instructions. And the first cut, this is an example of fabric I found out didn't work. So we're here to make the mistakes for you so you don't do it. I wanted this silver metallic look, but I discovered that this particular fabric, if you hit it with an iron, the silver comes off the dot. So I've just used this as an example of how the designer started this design with a 14-inch block. 14 inches, you line up the 9.5-inch line, which relates to this picture right here. And you make your first cut. And then you go through with her measurements, 10 inches across here and 10 inches down. You make your second cut. You end up with these 5 different cuts through the stack of your fabric. And yes, Naomi says it's exactly like a stack and whack. So you have all of these different layers, and what you do is you come along and you shuffle one piece back into the square. And that's where all of the crazy pieces, the idea comes from. Now next, you're going to take one of those squares. Let's pretend that this is a 14 by 14 inch completed stitch out. Now this was some of the leftovers from the quilt. And you can actually produce about 9 or 10 blocks from all of the scraps that you accumulate. So you could turn that table runner into a bed runner very easily just by adding a few more hearts. Here you're going to take the spiderweb ruler, again at the 9.5 inch mark along the straight edge, and you're going to cut that triangle loose. And then continue cutting up here, and then just remove that whole section and keep the triangle waiting for the next step. Then you take the spiderweb ruler and you lay the 6 inch, well, sorry, let me back up. With this leftover fabric, you're going to cut a 4 inch strip. So now you're going to get your straight edge out and measure here and make sure that this is 4 inches across. Spiderweb back here, 6 inches. This creates one trapezoid and another trapezoid going the other direction. Not that I remember 50 years ago my, is it geometry?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to ask a lady in the audience what shape that was. All they're asking you to do is to come up with these two trapezoids and that triangle. And then from the front page, you have already cut your background fabric, 2 more trapezoids. And when you construct it with the background pieces, it's as easy as that. That is your basic heart shape. And then you just start filling in your background strips. So, that is this example here. And then here's where you start piecing those hearts together and make your choices on border size and binding. So, okay, back to Naomi, and I'm going to come over there and join her with our...
Okay, so the first book we're going to talk about is called Pre-Cut Strips and Squares. And I have the book right here. And let me get, so here's what the book looks like. And the first pattern we're going to go over is called Boxed In.
One of the things that we like to do is I like to print the page out of the book so that you can see what inspired us and then how far we took the design. Now, Naomi and I try to only duplicate one design out of every book, and then the rest will all be different. But you can see how our minds work the same, but
Different.
Yeah. This is mine. I started with 5 inch charm squares that were left over from a pack. These, for some reason, didn't match the rest of the charm squares I was working with. So I had just saved these and set them off to the side. The design is charm square, 2.5 inch jelly roll or fabric, and then 1.5 inch, and then it's just the reverse for the squares around it. 1.5, 2.5. And you just start combining all of your fabrics. I used grunge. I used some Stonehenge, which is a real gravelly but low volume fabric. And then I had these stripes and sort of little gingham plaids. That's the fabric you say, why did you ever buy that? But the colors worked. And so I worked really hard on making this a variety of of different blocks. And you know, like always, I got halfway through it and didn't like it. I kept going, and once you get it quilted, it makes all the difference. Now I decided to put a border in so that my leftover pieces of Stonehenge fabric had a home to go to. So I have these little chiclets up the side. And then my long arm quilter did this pattern, which is called malachite. And then my back is kind of funky. One of those, I meant to do one thing and failed, so I ended up making just a whole new kind of collage on the back with the snail and the shades that some of the blocks on the front have. And then finished it off with the grunge blue fabric on the binding. Now, hopefully all of you know what grunge is, but it's a really low volume background fabric, not a solid color. It looks like maybe a stucco wall that's been scraped or scarred. And so your grunge fabrics can have any number of subtle undertones in them. And it's really popular, and I like to use it because it's not solid. So
It's a great blender.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, yeah.
I love her quilt because actually the quilting, it reminds me of the topographical design. So with mine, I decided, you know, I don't see orange enough. I think people are afraid of orange, or at least I hear it more often than I don't. So I went with orange, and I wanted to show you how, if you pick the right shade, it can look great. So this fabric I had in yardage, and like Donna said, you know, you have 2 blocks you make and you just reverse them. I quilted it with this really cute daisy and a swirl design. And then I can't disappoint. I like to put Minky on the back. And so I've got this orange Minky on the back. And there you can really see the quilting on that Minky. And then I just used scraps for my binding, and that's how I kind of finish it off. But with Minky, and I'll say it because I feel like there's always the question with Minky, I still use batting inside the middle. When I have my sandwich, I put batting in there. It helps as a stabilizer. If you're ever quilting with Minky and you find that the fibers from the Minky are coming to the front side, then I recommend using another piece of cotton or muslin inside of your sandwich here, and that will help those fibers stay down and not come up to the front. Also, making sure you're picking the right Minky. Some Minky has a longer hair to it, and so I like the shorter ones. They just lay flatter, they look clean, and then you don't have issue with the pull through of the fibers. But try orange. Try a color you don't really use or like. I mean, get out of your comfort zone, right?
When I was thinking about presenting this quilt in my stores, I tried to come up with all the different colors like marmalade and cantaloupe and lemonade. And it's just so springy and appropriate for this drizzly month.
It is. You know, I'm trying to get us ready for the spring. So let's get there.
Next, we have colors in bloom. And I just ended up making a rather large table runner or bed runner. I didn't see flowers in this design. I saw hearts. So I did not applique the circle in the center of those. I wanted more of the heart shape to read. Here again, leftover charm squares that I had sitting, not knowing what to do with so few of them. One day I took the charm squares and matched them up with fat quarters. That was the first step. That was before I even saw the pattern. And then when we got this book, I thought, okay, I can make those little heart clusters is what I call them. I've put them on laurel birch confetti, which says party to me. And so this is like my little heart party table or bed runner. I extended it by bringing the fat quarters into the bottom and the top, and did a scrappy border instead of scrappy binding. And then this kind of abstract charcoal gray binding with the little lines in it. And this is fabric I just had for a long time. You can see I've done some crosshatch quilting and then echo quilting around the hearts, and then through the heart to give it more definition, more crosshatch down here. And I was really happy to kind of take care of these oddball fabrics that I didn't want to go to waste, but didn't really know what to do with. So Naomi has the next one.
So I just want to say something about this real quick. Talking to the ladies when I was doing So Fun up north, I might say you're the dryer sheet lady.
Yeah, yes.
Because when she does her applique, she does the dryer sheet method, which I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but the dryer sheet is where she takes her applique item, she puts the dryer sheet on top, a used dryer sheet, and then you stitch around the edge, and then you cut a little opening in the dryer sheet, and you flip it, and then it pulls all those raw edges underneath. So Donna is my dryer sheet.
And that worked really well with this heart, but when I used the template plastic, that opened up a whole new world.
Okay.
So now I have two ways to do appliques.
Nice.
But this worked with this curve to just sew that on a dryer sheet and turn it inside out.
Yes. So one lady said, oh man, I'm going to have to start hoarding dryer sheets. So I'm going to talk to you about Starry Chorus. And so here is the picture of what it looks like in the book. And you'll see it's kind of traditional looking. Well, I kind of put my own spin on it. And I went into Cafe land. I used the Cafe fabric, and I love the greens, kind of went with the green themed. And you have the star block here. What you do is you make 9 of the star blocks, and then you just stagger them. Now, don't look too close at my points, but I was thinking about something with this quilt. If you love the design idea, but maybe you don't like doing points, you could replace it with a different block that's the same size. So, I mean, it really opens up other opportunities for quilts. I did the Cafe scrappy binding. Thank you. And like I said, it's just completely different from what the book, and then I put a purple minky on the back, and I quilted it with a non-traditional feather design. It still has that feather look to it, so it kind of pulls the front to the back, and but it's also a flower.
And I think the flower is repeated on the face of it in some of these strips.
Yeah,
so.
I tried to pick a design that was similar to flowers that Cafe used in his fabric line.
Question. Didn't you say that this takes a 48 pieces of jelly roll, and a jelly roll is only 42. So how did you add to it?
So I used the jelly roll, and then I had some extra jelly roll strips from another pack that I used. So it's always good to hold on to those extra strips. You never know when you need a couple extra. And honestly, you could take that and you could interweave some like grunge or some other blender type fabrics. So it's a great way to use up some of those maybe scrap jelly roll pieces you have laying around, because not every project takes a full jelly roll. So
I love this. I love this interpretation.
And it's
better than the traditional blues.
Yeah, and it's cuddly. I always tell customers, you know, if you're having a hard day, just go lay underneath a minky quilt, and your day will be better. So then we have Circle of Life. And here's what it looks like in the book. And you'll see right here, it's applique and it's piecing. And what I did was you have your strip circles and then you have your solid circle. For the strip circles, you're going to sew your strip sets together. And then in the book, there's a template of the circle size you need. I took that circle and I scanned it into my scanning cut. And then I took my fabric, I put fusible on the back, steam and seam too. I ironed that on. I removed the paper and I stuck it onto my standard mat. Then I cut it out using the rotary cutter, and it was great because with all of these seams, it just cut right through it, no problem. There were no little extra little pieces that you have to snip. They just cut really nice. And then I like it because it cut all my circles the same. If I try to cut it freehand, you know, it's going to be like wonky, and maybe that's more of an oval than a circle. So it really cuts it nice. And then I just do a blanket stitch around for the applique to hold it down. And then in the book, it had a white background, but if there's white quilts in my house, it's not going to stay white. So I went with this charcoal gray, and then I quilted it with this circle design. It's kind of a bubble design all over. And then I have, thank you.
I think it looks like planets and moons
Right.
after you look at the sort of solar system on the front.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it just, the blue, I love it. It adds to the whole kind of spacey theme maybe. And then I finish it with scrappy binding. And now it's just ready to be loved and snuggled.
The one thing that I pointed out to my gals is that you take 5 strips of jelly roll strips or 2.5 inch that you've cut, sew them end to end from salvage to salvage.
Yep.
As Nancy Zeman used to call it, a strata.
Okay.
And you get a circle, you get 2 circles cut, and you get 2 10.5 inch layer cakes, and you keep that strata all in the same row.
Okay.
For consistency.
Yes.
And then the next row and the next.
Yep.
And this circle does not come out of this background. It's separate.
Right. Yeah. That's very important to know. Yeah. You are not cutting the center out and then placing this over it. It is its own unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you can see, all 4 circles are identical in the sense of the strip fabric.
I think it's so planetary.
Yeah.
I see Saturn and Jupiter, and
you know, and that's a great idea. I mean, if you have spacey type fabric, outer space, like it would be a great boys or girls quilt.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you know, and I will say I have seen printed minky out there that's space themed. So, you know, you could really take it in a different direction.
Okay, and then finally from that book is called Cross Weave. And I used to be a weaver in a different century, and I wanted to see how easy it would be to replicate that in strips. So it's designed to use 2.5 inch jelly roll strips. I happen to have yardage. This is called Cotton Shot Pearl. So it's these pastel colors with a light frosting of sort of pearlescent ink that's been silk screened over the top of it. Since I didn't have strips, I didn't have to piece this large line through in the yellow. So I was able to just cut 4.5 inches instead of 2.5 inch strips and then piece them together. And then it's something that you need to pay close attention to so that you get the block the same. Here is your block, and it's the same everywhere so that you've got that over and under weaving effect. It was quilted with this crosshatch design and then a sweet little flower border. One of the things that bothers me on some fabrics is to seam my border. because the seam shows. And I don't know why that bothers me, but a lot of times you'll see that I add, once I've done the 40-inch, 41-inch extension of the border fabric, and I need to have a seam, then I'll insert maybe some scraps from the quilt itself. So in these two corners, top and bottom, I've inserted 3 colors from the quilt just to break up and kind of camouflage that seam. And since I can't stand to lose any fabric, I have done this pieced back, kind of a ladder version with all of the leftovers from the front and some more of the green cotton shot pearl, and then just some traditional little baby faces, because this is going to be a baby quilt for, I can't say in case they're watching.
You know, and I see this and I look at this and I say it's almost reversible in the sense of as the child grows. I see this back side and it reminds me of more of like at the younger stage. And then as they get a little older and they're in that stage of, I know how to do it, I'm a big girl, then they can kind of get into this side. And, you know, as they grow up, you know, it's like, it's kind of reversible in that sense.
I like to make my baby quilts large like that. And I tell the mom, don't pack this in the closet and save it for good. Put it on your carpet, let your baby grow on it, do tummy time, sit up, roll over, and definitely spit up on it, because you can just throw it in the laundry over and over and over again, and it just gets more beautiful. Mm-hmm.
So speaking of baby quilts, the next book we're going to go over is called Soft Spot, and I have it sitting right here in front of my face. So we have Soft Spot. And this book is all about pillows and comfy cushions. Well, with this next one, I decided not to make this large pillow cushion, because if there's a pillow cushion in my house, I'm going to have one of my Great Danes sleeping on it, and it would make me very sad because I put all that time and effort into it. I don't want that. So this is the pattern, Inhale and Exhale. And so it's the log cabin. And so my middle brother, I'm the youngest out of 3. I have 2 older brothers. My middle brother, actually, he just had his first baby born like 2 days ago. And so my mom's been going crazy making quilts. And so I decided to do this one as a little baby blanket. And so you have the log cabin here. And I use these because it was kind of, they said, you know, they wanted the pink. The mom loves the green colors. And this is 36 by 36. And I put Minky on the back. And I like this Minky color choice because I think it goes well with some of the coloring on the log cabin front. And I just did this nice flower design for the quilting. And I think it'll be great for when baby needs to have that tummy time. And you can just put it down and they can just, you know, look very adorable. And
go ahead.
Okay.
Keep going.
Keep going. I'll keep going. Okay. So this one is the next one. And this is a pillow. And I will say my mom made a Snoopy quilt for the baby, and so I use the scraps for this one. And this one is called, I'm looking at the name, I can't read it.
This Way and That.
This Way and That. And it is so easy. It is the easiest pattern in the book, I think, in my opinion. You want to show what so that was my inspiration. All it takes is you take your fabric, you put fusible on the back. I use Seam and Seam 2. And then you cut out your triangles. Now, I did some fussy cutting because I wanted Snoopy looking the right way. And then you just iron it on, and then do a straight stitch. And for the back, I just have the envelope style. And I will say, on the pattern, they did want you to do kind of a raw edge here, but I wanted it to be all clean for the baby, so I did not do the raw edge around the exterior. But very easy pattern to do. Now, the next one, inspiration, I will say, I saw this in the book on the back, and I was like, Donna, we got to get this book. I love this bee pillow. So I actually found this fabric at one of the quality sewing stores at Bellevue. I went a little crazy. I'm sure I bought way too much, but I was just having fun. And you have the template I showed you earlier, and you cut it out. But what you do first is you sew all your strips together. And I've got my little bee door. Now in the pattern, they have you want to do a hand embroidery of bee creative, but I decided to do a machine embroidery, and I found these little bees, and I just embroidered the little bees all over. And then for the back, I used scrap minky, and I used that zipper I was talking about, that zippity-doo-done zipper, and I did a straight stitch to hold it down since it was kind of, minky shifts a little. And then I did a decorative stitch. Now, I don't do decorative stitches very often. And I had to tell myself at one point, slow down, Naomi, you're not in a hurry, because I had my thread break. And if your thread breaks on a decorative stitch, it can be a pain to get it back in alignment of the design. So my little recommendation is I lined it up the best I could. And then when I was done, I just took a little black Sharpie and etched out the little area that didn't line up perfect, and no one can tell. And now I'm going to let Donna talk about something fun.
Yes, I'm going to break in here with our winners. The winners of our drawing this morning, this jelly roll strip of orange in honor of Naomi's effort to do orange. Beautiful shades of orange and peach and yellow. And it's going to Caroline Tobin. Please private message us to let us know what store and what your phone number is so we can coordinate a delivery for you. And then this book is called New Twist, and it's got 12 beautiful designs in it, wonderful ideas, and it's going to Dawn Tennyson. So please let us know what store you like to shop at, and we'll try and get it to that store or get it to you somehow. So my pillows, and Naomi and I feel very strongly that this book is not meant to just only be pillows. Any of these designs can either be expanded into a quilt or a wall hanging or any number of things. Just think outside the box. This is called Kissin', and this was my rendition. It's very similar to what you see in the book. There are a series of low volume fabrics in the background, and then these crosses. And this is the leftover from this project. So I'm so relieved there's no more of those fat quarters left. I don't have to worry about wasting them. They all ended up on this pillow. Now I have an ensemble. Little gray cornerstones. And then I like to do a traditional quilt binding on my pillows. It looks like giant piping. And my binding, in my mind, is the framework that brings all of this together. So a piping would be much, much smaller and much harder to do. So if I just do a traditional quilt binding, it's easy to turn those corners, and it gives you more room to feature that fabric that you're trying to tie everything together with. This is a little rainbow bubble fabric that is designed on the diagonal. I finished this with a hidden zipper and then just that flange that covers it up. And this size is about a standard bed pillow. And if you get one that doesn't have a lot of stuffing in it, then it's not too overly stuffed. And this one is called Bloomfields. And it calls for 1 panel of regular quilting cotton. So I have picked the Cafe Jungle Paisley. Now I made this pillow a little bit bigger because I didn't have the heart to cut into too much of that paisley design. The book then has you construct the rest of the pillow out of Moda toweling, which we carry here in the stores. I'd never done anything like that, and it was a really great experience. You fussy cut the toweling, so you get one toweling pattern for this section, and then this is a tight stripe that came off of this portion, so you're able to cut it up and lay it in the direction that the book has you do it, and then your leftover toweling goes for the back. Here's my zippity-doo-done zipper. The grays match perfect. I don't know how I got that lucky. And like I said, this pillow is a little bit bigger than what the book has you do, but that's up to you. And then this motif here was done with the template plastic. So when I used the dryer sheets for the hearts, that was one thing. But these were so small, and I wanted to be able to press the raw edges under and put a fusible on them. And so the template plastic seemed like the way to do it. I've got 3 leaf shapes cut out of the template plastic. The fabric was cut 1/4 inch larger, and then I just went to the ironing board and folded all those raw edges under, used some Best Press to get a really nice, crisp, stiffer leaf, and then removed the template plastic to create the 3 different sizes. With a little bit of paperback fusible on the back of the leaf and the bias vine, I was able to lay it out, press it lightly, and then get to the machine and do the blanket stitch. Now, this was a needle turn project. And for those of you who don't know, that's where you turn the raw edge under with your needle and take little teeny tiny stitches. And I said, I don't think so. I think I can do a blanket stitch quicker. And so it's just a stitch on your machine. There's 1 stitch off the fabric, and then there's 1 stitch on. And so that's what is holding all of those leaves and the vine down. And then I finished it off with the coordinating purples to emulate berries that pull out the colors in the cave. And then finally, and like I said, I would love this, bar none, as just a wall hanging, either vertical or horizontal. It's 13 double-ended pickets, or what I like to look at is double sharpened crayons or pencils. And I picked out some fat quarter leftovers with beautiful jewel tones and gold, and then augmented that with some other colors from my stash. So there's 13 different fabrics here on this light kind of speckled, almost a pink oatmeal looking. Oh, and yes, and we've had some customers say this would be the perfect vehicle for leftover silk ties. So you could do something fabulous. The light bulb just went on. I finished it with the binding of this fabric, and then just did some simple quilting. I also used a decorative stitch on this. King Star metallic thread is the best metallic you'll ever use. And that comes from our store here, and I've used the gold to accentuate that shape. And then I've repeated it on the back on that zippity-doo-done black zipper. Now, won't go into a lot of detail, but when this pillow was delivered to Naomi, it had no zipper pull. And her customer said, well, how do you unzip that? It's magic.
Yes.
I had laid the pillow on my cutting table and was going to trim up the edges to make them all square for the binding. And I just rotary cut the zipper pull and the leftover black zipper off. Don't do that. That's why they tell you to put the zipper pull in the middle. But I was able to get the sample back and open up the binding, which that's another reason why I like the binding, because it's easy to remove, and then just put the zipper pull back in. So I think of this as my miracle pillow, because it's a miracle. It is all together and finished properly. Now, back to Naomi. She's going to do a demo on the zipper.
Okay, so we have the zippity-doo-dah zipper, and I'll just go over real quick. So once we open it out of the package, you'll notice right here on the side, it has where it opens. And this is where you take your piece of fabric and you put it inside. So it's like Pac-Man. You're gonna slide your fabric right in there. And then all you have to do is top stitch right here. And you don't need a zipper foot. You can do that decorative stitch if you want to. So I'm going to show you how I like to sew it in. So when I was doing the Sew Fun presentations up North End, likes to slide, I kept having to rip it out because I was reusing my fabric. So typically I will take and use either a glue stick or, the fusible strips you can put in here. You can pin it, but I'm just going to put it in here like this. And I fold it in half so you can see when you're done and you open it up, you could have your finished bag or pillow with that lining. So I'm just going to slide it right in here. And I'll get it more lined up once I get it kind of started. So I'm going to start there. And this is not my machine, so I'm not. Okay. So hopefully it's not going super fast. Okay, so I got it started. And now I'm going to open up that zipper. I'm going to stick my fabric in and just get it laying flat. And then I'm going to start sewing. And I just sew, 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And these zippers come in 4 colors: navy, black, white, and gray. And I'm just going to keep stitching along. And I did it in a thread color, so when I'm done, you can really see the stitching. So I'll just line up my next section and just go. And these pair well with the widgets, the little widget zipper pulls. Let me show you those real quick. Remember the little widget zipper pulls? And I'll just get this moving along so you can see it. But it really just goes together so quick. And like Donna said, you have to be careful of that zipper pull, because when I was showing this at one of the stores, a customer was looking at it. Let me get this so you can see it. She was looking at it and she pulled the zipper and it came right off because I didn't have my little stitch lines on the end. But so this is what it looks like. And I'm going to flip it over. So then it's finished on the inside.
And I've found that it's so precisely pressed that you can do a very narrow stitch on the front and you don't run off the back.
Yep. And so let me show you some of the bags. So just simple, quick bags we have here. This was just 2 pieces of fabric, and I just put them together. You can see I kind of finished the insides, but it goes together so quick. I was thinking, oh, a little heart design would be cute right there. And I've got the little zipper pull widget right there. Now, Donna had some placemats that she had laying around. And the first one right here, she took this used placemat and she just attaches the zipper, and then she adds the little binding. Now she extended this one out a little bit. It's a nice little to hold on to. And then you open it. And you don't need lining because it's nice heavy duty material and it really looks nice. And then you can add a little button for flair and just kind of dress it up. Now the second one she did, same method, placemat, but with this one she put the zipper in the middle. Now she travels, she sees family, and so this alternative of putting it in the middle is so when you're traveling, you can put your shoes inside and then put it directly into your suitcase, and then your shoes don't get your clothes dirty. And we got the little blue zipper widget pull there, and she does the little binding just like a quilt on the outside. So that is how you do the Zippity Doo Done zipper. And we're going to go over to Donna and talk about our embroidery.
So our last set of projects this month are from our embroidery pack, and it's called Parenthood by Courtney Morgenstern. And she's come up with a dictionary format of all of these different parenting words and her take on what they mean in a very snarky or sarcastic version. And many of my gals in classes could laugh heartily about this because their kids are going through this now. Mine too. It's not so funny if you're the parent that's not getting any sleep. The first one I did is called Serenity. The inner peace created from hiding in a locked bathroom from your children. And I just did this on a very serene piece of fabric that looks like maybe the sun just set. And it's just stapled over a simple dollar store frame. And this is going to my daughter-in-law. She's got 2 little boys. I had 2 little boys. I can relate to the fact that you just want them not to follow you in the bathroom.
It's true. I don't care if it's the bathroom, the closet, in your car. You need to have your downtime with no one bugging you. And that could be related. Any of this could be really kind of directed at kids, dogs, or husbands. Sorry, husbands out there who are watching. I mean, they could probably direct at their wives too, but you know, it's not just kids.
My second project, my older son is a home brewer, so he loves to brew beer throughout the year. So he's getting this apron that says, "Children, why God gave us alcohol." And he's got the 2 and the 4-year-old, so he can really relate to this statement, although I love those little boys to death. But that's sometimes a hard age. I like to do my embroidery on a separate piece of quilting cotton or home deck. Always put an interfacing of Shapeflex 101 fusible on the back, which really helps any kind of puckering or just gathering of the stitches. And then I don't have any threads or stabilizers showing on the back. I've turned it into an applique and then just placed it and stitched it down. Now my next apron is just sort of borderline, and we don't want to be offensive, but this came off the disc. It's called Teenager, an Emotional Hot Mess. And then the C also is just a little
also C bleep.
Yeah. Naughty word.
Naughty word.
And then this is the same idea. It's an apron blank. And I plan on sending this with my sons. He lives down the street from a high school math teacher, and I think he's going to be able to relate to that teenage years so well. And then the boys can barbecue together with their snarky aprons on.
I love it. So I did some little accent pillows with my designs. And what I did, I took home deck fabric and I used scrap minky and I quilted it with a navy blue thread. And this one says toddler, tiny human allergic to logic, which I find is very true. And then we have mess, the constant state of my house after having children. I find that true with my dogs because I feel like they're just as messy. Now, this next one is very true right now in my life because I have a senior dog who I get up with probably 3 to 4 times a night. And then my son left for boot camp in December. So I'm that mom with like, my son, he left the house and he's at boot camp and I don't know what's going on. So this one is sleep, an elusive memory of an activity enjoyed before children. So, and they're all little cute pillows, and I just thought these would be great little accent pillows to throw onto my couches, and my dogs would probably think it's a chew toy. But
that wraps it up for us this month. We want to encourage you to come out to our live presentations. We hear our customers say all the time that there's nothing like being here and seeing these quilts and these projects up close. And I can't tell you how many friends I've made when I was in So Fun in the audience. And now I see their faces when I give these presentations, and it just means the world to me. So
I know, I agree. I love getting out of the house and seeing all of you ladies. It's nice to go around to all the different stores and see what's going on and catch up and chat with everyone. So yes, please come check us out if you're local in the area. We'd love to see you in stores. And we thank you for tuning in with us today and hope you have a great day and take care.
Thanks for joining us.